So a lot of times when you want to create some variations in the form, you're dealing with a random number. So when I write in random in the library, you see I've got all these different elements here. So I'm going to place all of them so that you can see what each of them are. When you're working with the library, and again, I encourage you to go and explore this, you type in something, it gives you that little text here that shows the category these guys belong to. If I click on this, it will go to the category it was a part of. So if you want to know where things are coming from, that's one way. And also, if you want to filter the things you're seeing here, you can click on that filter results on the top, and then say, okay, these are all coming from the core. But if I had something bigger, then it's saying me, okay, it's coming from an analyze core and Revit. I can say I only want to see things that are coming from Revit, so it will reduce the sizes of things that I'm having over there. All right, so randoms. I will click on this, that, and that. You can see they all showed up here. I want to organize them, so I would select all of them, go to edit, clean up node layout. Also want to align them to left so that they're cleaner. Now, the first one is a random list. So it gets a number. So do you want 10 different random numbers produced? And it will do that for you. So if I do a watch here, and I give this guy to that, and I put in a number, let's say 2, it generates 2 random numbers between 0 and 1. Math random, it will just produce a random number, and that's it. And if I make this to manual, each time I run it, it gives me the same random number. Next one is shuffle list. So it's not really a random number, but it will shuffle your list into a random order. So we have seen this before in the first tutorial, I guess, where we have the points and the circle radiuses, and it will shuffle those. Next one is the math random. So it gives a seed number. So a slider as a seed. And then generates a random number between 0 to 1, and as you change the seed number, the random number changes. Next one is the math random, that instead of creating a random number between 0 to 1, creates a number between the two numbers you provide for it. So you basically define the domain, and then it will provide you with a random number in that domain. In this case, between 0 to 2, it's giving me that. If it was between 0 to 10, it's giving me the same thing.
Similar to the original math rand, does it always keep the same random number?
Yes, yeah. So except this one that you provide the seed, they all keep the same random number. So usually, if you guys are familiar with Grasshopper, the things we like to work with is, first of all, have the domain, also have the seed, and also have the amount. For this example, I just want to keep the amount and the seed and get rid of the rest of them. So I would delete these guys. I want to generate a random number, a list of, let's say, 10 random numbers, and I want to be able to change them when I need. And it generates them between 0 to 1. So the way to combine them is to basically just multiply them. So I would multiply these two numbers, and it gives me a list of random numbers that are between 0 and 1, and there's 10 of them in the list. And if I change the seed, you can see I get some different numbers. Another thing I can do, if I want to add the domain to it, I can remap my range. I can say, okay, here's my new minimum and here's my new maximum, giving them numbers. So let's say I want them all to be between 0 to 1200. Now this list is a list of random numbers between 0 to 1200. You can also start from different things. The only problem with this technique is that you always get a 300 and you always get a 1200. You could again generate these two numbers through a random value saying, okay, for my maximum, I want to get a number between 1000 and 1200, which in this case is that, and give this to my max. Now my max is not a set number that I define. Same thing for the minimum if you really want to make it random. But in this case, it doesn't really matter. Just go ahead with that. Okay. So now I've got a list of 10 items that are between 300 and 1200. I don't really want to make them only 10 because 10 again is a random number. I want to have the same number of windows that I have in my model. So I would use the node called count, and just count the number of windows that I've got in my list. So in this case, it's 8. I just plug that in, so it is reading the number of windows in my model, which is 8, and generates 8 random numbers between these two. And I can give them to my sail height value here. So what happens now is, okay, I forgot to say this. Okay, it's a very good example. Dynamo hangs a lot, especially when you're using sliders and when you're using random numbers and when you are playing with mathematics. So a way to get away from it is to not do automatic. So basically, whenever you're playing with random numbers, because there are seeds involved, and whenever you're doing a lot of sliders that you are moving around, make sure this is on manual and you keep clicking on run whenever you want to do something. So I'm gonna close this and redo a bunch of these stuff again very quickly, and I've got the Dynamo file, so that's not an issue. But remember to do that. Okay. Okay, here's this, new, back to our templates, US metric, default metric. Okay, opening that up, going to our 3D view, quickly making the wall, and placing the windows in. Bring them there, running Dynamo. This time I'm gonna okay. This was the wall. Okay. So again, just to review quickly, I have, okay, I've selected the face, I've placed a point on it, I've measured the distance from the base point of all of these windows to that, I have give them a range, and I have gave that range to my value, and I will run. Okay, now they are based on this point moving around. The next thing I wanted to do is to generate a set of random numbers, multiply them, remap them, and then the last thing I didn't show last time was to, again, I've got the distances, I've got the new random number, I would multiply these two so that I've got a new list of numbers that is reflecting both the distances they have from this point and a random element in them, and then I would connect that wire. I hit run. Now you can see there's also a random element involved. To make it a more dramatic, I would change these to bigger numbers and run again. Now you can see the randomness is different. I can change my seed number and run again. You can see now they're placing. So both based on where this point is and based on the random input to them.